came onto my radar in a very direct way after the trip my friends made here last fall. I would say at that time I knew very little about Ukraine. I mean, I read the news and I have a sense of what the war is like and some of the little bits of history behind it. But it changed when I saw the pictures and videos and heard the stories that my friends brought back. And I was just very moved. And so it's sort of like Ukraine was like this nut that cracked open from that exposure. And I saw much more directly the human and structural impacts of the war. And so what had been sort of a vague, fuzzy image came very into sharp focus. And as it came into sharp focus, I felt myself being drawn into it. Like, this is not just a snapshot of a beautiful place. It's a compelling story that lies behind the images. So that was kind of my catalyst. And what the stories I heard last fall, the firsthand stories gave me, was an appreciation for the people and the resilience and the cultural tenacity of the Ukrainian people. And again, I felt deeply moved. I'm very sensitive to the cost in time, the cost in money, the cost in carbon to travel here. So it's like, okay, if I'm gonna indulge in this investment, what gain can I hope to offer the world in response? So I asked that question a lot. Actually, I asked it with Katya in our calls as we were preparing this. And so I kind of came up with these two things. And I've since come up with the word citizen diplomacy, which fits for me. I didn't ask about it, but to me, it resonates as a good descriptor. But I didn't have that descriptor at the time. But what I felt was that I wanted to both approach in a very human way. I wanted to approach people who demonstrated human qualities that I admire, because when we're around people who manifest things that we appreciate or admire, it reinforces those things in ourselves. I think we all benefit from joy, so I want to start there, which is paradoxical because the first thing everybody asks me is, why are you going to a war zone? You know, why would you travel to a war zone? And so I think it's important to name the joy, to say the intensity of life experience here, the warmth of the people, the spectacular architecture, the compelling history, the dynamic cosmopolitan qualities of the city, and the inspirational qualities of, like, the Maidan uprising, revolution of dignity. All these things are enlivening, and so the quality of joy is not to be overlooked. I feel more alive, more whole, more appreciative than I ever expected coming here. So that's one reason. Why should people come? Joy. I think the deeper, bigger reason, not that joy is superficial, but the bigger, deeper reason is welcome this experience into your life to become more whole. The reason to come is to grow, to embrace a fuller sense of oneself and oneself's place in the world. I would recommend that people tune into their own learning, growing edges. And in the education world, we call this a cognitive set. You need to have the position, the internal structure ready to say, I'm ready to grow, I'm ready to change, I'm ready to try something new, I'm ready to have my assumptions blown out of the water, I'm ready to have my heart peeled open, I'm ready to face pain, I'm ready to experience love. So there's this readiness, this anticipatory readiness for for my own change, so that it can not be something that I experience and add to my list of experiences. Oh yeah, I've traveled to India, I've traveled to Ukraine now too. A lot of people do that sort of checklist thing, which is a form of consumption, but I have no desire to consume Ukraine and check it off a list. It's not, that's a very American superficial approach, and I think that the meaningful approach is to really look in and say, am I willing to change who I am, how I think, what I believe, in return for this amazing experience? My overall experience here is a product of the very intentional set of opportunities that were provided for me by my hosts. So from speaking at length with Valerie Pecker, for example, who is somebody I admire very deeply, and he took the time to explain a lot of things to me that I didn't fully understand. That's not something you get when you just pick up a guidebook or go to the cathedral and ask somebody to guide you. There's a depth and a complexity that this program has given me that goes way beyond what is accessible otherwise. So the sort of crafting of the experience has been very nuanced and thoughtful. Along with that, there has been a level of care that I have been the beneficiary of. And so as I look at my experience, everything from transportation and meals, and I'm not going to call it entertainment, but the growing and learning experiences that are part of this. Each one of those things, if I took them individually, would reflect a level of intentionality and care and thoughtfulness that has really, that's really inseparable from the value that I've experienced in being here. So I'm very, very grateful and indeed indebted to my hosts in helping make this possible in the way that it has been possible. So I confess, I came here with stories and images of war in the forefront of my sort of image portfolio. And so I expected to see damage of various sorts. And I'm so touched that the images of war are way, way outnumbered by the images of peace and vibrancy and creativity and people living full lives and embracing their community and their family and their solidarity. Ukraine is at creativity. Ukraine is at expression. Ukraine is at dance. Ukraine is at music. Ukraine is at so many things more than war that I feel blessed to be able to hold a much larger sense of this culture and its people than I ever anticipated. And so I feel humbled and grateful and enriched, and as I spoke earlier about human qualities, that when we're around noble human qualities in others, it animates those in us. And so I feel like I'm going to return a more generous and grateful and loving person, just by nature of the spirits of the people I was lucky enough to encounter here.